Hey, welcome back to the channel, everybody. I'm Ham Radio Dude. Recently, I made a video where I used a foot switch to activate a push-to-talk in IEX RPT using an Arduino. And today, I want to show you a little bit more useful of a project, or maybe a project a little bit more people could actually get a little bit use out of. And this is a control board. Where would you use a control board in amateur radio? Let's find out.
Your source for tech overviews. This is Ham Radio Dude.
Hey everybody, I'm Ham Radio Dude. My call sign is W9FFF, and I want to explain and show to you guys why I thought of this control board, or why I'm doing this control board, and I want to also explain to you where I'm going with this, because I think it's a really cool project, and I can't wait 3 weeks or 3 months, whatever it's going to be, to finish this project before I show you guys. Now, starting off, it just looks like a bunch of buttons, and my scenario is my laptop is all the way over here. Whenever I do WSJT-X, I constantly have to move over here, back and forth, and it's a lot of strain on my body. But I decided I would build this control box, and I know that there's not really a lot of uses for it inside of a house. Then I started to realize that maybe this would be beneficial again for somebody who's maybe on the road, or they're wanting to do FT8 from somewhere remote. That's when I realized I could easily put a 7-inch LCD on here. Okay, so now I have a 7-inch LCD. I have the buttons. I'm going to put a Raspberry Pi behind the 7-inch LCD in the future. And then I was doing some research, and I saw that those little inexpensive Pixie Kits that you can get for CW, they're modifiable to be worked with FT8. So you should be able to do FT8 on them. I haven't done a lot of research into that, but it looks like you should be able to do FT8. So essentially what I'm going to end up building here is a little portable FT8 transceiver, which I think is very cool. And it's hard to argue now that it's not amateur radio from all the FT8 haters out there, because I'm building something that technically is going to get on, to the airwaves. Regardless, though, this project is pretty fun, and I just want to show you some of my code and how it works real quick, and then maybe show you a practical application, or actually show this to you in real world scenarios, or I want to show this to you by using WSJT-X. Now, these buttons are all using native keyboard shortcuts from WSJT-X, and I'll show that to you here in just a moment. First, I'd like to show you an Arduino Micro Pro board, which you're going to see right above me. And there's like a teal color, I believe, and you'll see that there's labels 2 through 9 on the left side, and then some weird number system on the right side, but it's 10, 16, 14, and so forth. You see it. These are general purpose input-output pins, and these allow me to basically communicate with a board by a series of off and ons, or yes or no's, highs and lows, whatever you want to call it. And the cool thing is then I started to write some code, and I actually included the keyboard.h file that comes in the libraries for Arduino. And at this point, I did find some other code that was a very simple 2-button code, and I modified it. But basically, I have 16 different constants, and constants don't change, but those constants are my buttons, 1 through 16. And each of the buttons correlate with one of these GPIOs, or again, general purpose input outputs, on the board that you see above me. So then what I do is I go down and I set integers, which can't be changed, and I set pretty much everything to 0. That can change in the future, but above there you'll see the top integer is me setting the previous button state to high. And long story short, then I go through like this whole void setup thing where I basically initialize all the pins and basically make the Arduino listen for whether it's high or low. And continuing down, I just have a bunch of if statements. If I hit this button, it's going to enable TX. If I hit this button, it's going to tune. If I hit this button, it's going to, and so forth and so forth. I still have some shortcuts to work out because I want to perfect this thing to my liking. But let me show you what actually happens when you hit these buttons. So people probably wonder where the practicality is in this, and I'm going to show you some of the buttons do right now. And I should also mention I'm working on a template that I'm going to build that I could print up in kind of like a sticker or a decal. I could just put over this to make it A, look nice, but B, then I know what each button does and I don't have to guess. So when I'm in the program here, this is button 1, and then this is button 4, this is button 16. So the first thing I always do when I go to a new frequency is I tune up, and that's button 15. And if I hold down this button, it should tune. We're good. And then to untune it, just hit the button again. There you go. So as you can see, I hit the button once for tune, and I hit it again to turn tune off. Now that I'm tuned up, maybe I want to call CQDX. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to hit button number 1, which now enables TX, and I'm calling CQ. But wait, I forgot something. Well, maybe I need to halt my TX. There you go. Halted my TX. That easy. Now, there are a couple other things I could do. Like I can go back in and I can turn off monitor mode by hitting button 3. And you can see right there that monitor mode turned back on. And what that's telling me is I probably don't have the timing programmed right on this button. Instead of it listening and waiting for 200 milliseconds or 250 milliseconds, maybe I need to bring it up to 300 milliseconds. So you can see there you go. So I could tell you right now, monitor is kind of still having a little bit of a difficult time. That'll be an easy fix, I'm sure. If I wanted to stop monitoring, I could also, as I am monitoring right now, you can see it keeps turning off automatically. Again, that's the button. But then if I wanted to stop monitoring, I could also hit button 4. And I turned off monitoring. That was a lot easier. So I'll check out button 3 later. Let's say I finally got to the point where I made a contact. And right now I am going to use my mouse to try to make a contact. And I know you guys are saying, well, what's the point of this whole box if you need a mouse? I could use a joystick in the future, and I'll put a joystick in here and just use it as a mouse. Or, again, guys, I'm using an LCD Pi touchscreen. I could just touch right here if I want to connect to this guy or that guy. So right now my mouth is imitating either one of two things, a joystick or the touchscreen. Okay, I just sent my report back or my 73 back, excuse me. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to hit button 5. Okay, you guys should now be able to see the log QSO screen up here. So I hit the button 5. But now it's like, well, what do you got to do? You got to hit enter. Well, I could program it to automatically hit enter, but instead I did program button 16 to be enter. So if I hit button 16, you see that window goes away. And now if I looked in the logs, it would be logged. Now, there's a couple other people calling me here, so I'm going to go ahead and give them a shot real quick. And I'll be right back. I went ahead and I used this here for about 5 or 10 minutes. I think I made 3 contacts. Maybe it was even a little more than 10 minutes. But I do want to make a couple of notes. I do have a few bugs in here. I need to increase the wait time so that I don't get that double click, if you will, or that double response. I also recognize, and there's nothing I could do about this, but I want to make note that if in the future anybody does build one of these boxes, you have to be on the program that you're trying to use these shortcuts for, because all this is keyboard shortcuts, right? So therefore, if you're in a program like Microsoft Edge or Google Chrome and you hit this button, it's going to do something different in that program than it would WSJT-X. It doesn't tell. This is pretty dumb. It's just turning things on and off. But regardless, it's kind of a cool project, the start of something cool. Let me know if this is something that you would actually support and rock, if this was a portable transceiver for FT8. Anyway, until next time, I appreciate you checking out my channel. Don't forget to hit subscribe. Again, it really helps me in the YouTube algorithm. And if you're going to hate. But until next time, thanks a lot. I'm Ham Radio Dude 793.